what's up, sim fans? Welcome to VR Simulation, dedicated to bringing you the latest news and reviews for all simulations in virtual reality. Hey, welcome VR Simulation fans. This is Jeremiah coming to you from northern Japan, and this is podcast episode 1, Sim Racing Lineup. So I want to talk this week about the different games that I'm planning to cover throughout our time here, and just go over kind of the basics of what those games are, how they compare to each other, and why I'll be covering them. So I want to start with my personal favorite, which is iRacing. iRacing currently has 2 dev kits on order, and the developers are waiting for those to arrive, and they'll start playing with them. They have not officially announced any support for the Rift, but the fact that they have 2 kits on order bodes well for us, I believe. So we'll be watching that closely, and excited to see the developments there. Now, iRacing is a great sim, and we're going to jump into it here. iRacing, of course, supports telemetry output, so I'm also able to run SimVibe, and that's a big boost, I believe. SimVibe and or motion systems are very cool. I've shut off NVIDIA 3D Vision so that you guys can better see what's going on screen with these different games and simulators. iRacing.com is a fully online simulator. You have to be connected to the internet. The entire game's interface is done through their web portal, and all of the gameplay is online except for maybe time trials, which still connects you to online in the background. This is a practice session in the Ford GT at Watkins Glen. I'm just going to do a couple laps here and talk about the game. The graphics engine is, let me turn down the volume a little bit, a little old. It's still running DirectX 9. They recently ported the game to 64-bit code, so they are constantly improving. And I've got my wheel set on the wrong profile here. Let me switch this back. There we go, that's better. So the graphics are a little outdated, but you know, the world still looks pretty darn good. It's amazing what you can do with an old code. They've done quite well with it. The textures and the road surface especially is phenomenal. And the graphics overall look pretty polished. But you don't see a lot of modern touches on here. You look at all the trees in the background, and they're quite obviously 2D. They don't move in the wind. Everything's fairly static. There's no dynamic weather, there's no day-night or time cycle. It's static. There's also very little modern stuff like post-processing or particle. There is smoke, tire smoke and whatnot, and it looks pretty good. But pretty basic stuff, no motion blur, that kind of thing. It's pretty focused on what's important to the racing experience, and it leaves the other stuff off to the side, maybe like his gimmicks or whatnot. I don't have too much of a problem with it. You're not thinking about that when you're racing. You're thinking about, you know, your line and staying ahead of the other competitors and blocking or passing or whatever the case may be. The nice thing about the engine being a little bit more basic is that it runs a little bit smoother. So although lighting and shadows are very good. You can see here the shadows inside the vehicle are kept track of. The game's still running quite decent frame rates. I'm running between 120 and 150 frames per second right now. Even up to 160 frames per second, 170 right there. So it runs very smooth, and that's of course important. It does not work well with cross-fired ATI graphics cards. Just a single ATI graphics card is all that you can implement. And they've also implemented proper triple screen support. So you can see my side monitors are angled at a pretty severe angle. If you do that in most games, they render the entire scene as one big scene meant to be seen on 3 parallel monitors. And when you have them set up in an extreme angle like this, the sides really look strange because they're all stretched out. However, iRacing has allows you to change the perspective on which the scene is rendered on these side monitors. And so as I look from one monitor to the next, they flow perfectly according to my position in respect to the monitors. So that's really important. Physics in iRacing are superb. I'm a huge fan of iRacing. I know Race Department just came out with their review, and they're not the first one to criticize the physics in iRacing as not being as good as some of the other simulators. I disagree. Maybe I'm biased. I've definitely played iRacing more than the others, but when I'm iRacing, I feel very connected to the road. I feel very aware of what the car is doing. I feel like it's an excellent meld between machine and man. And to me, it's a very convincing, compelling experience. So I'm a big fan of their physics engine. I don't have problems like Race Department documented in controlling road vehicles. Sure, it's challenging, but I think it's challenging in real life too. But also that's a disadvantage to me. I haven't done any, well, I haven't done very much. I've done a little bit of autocross, but I haven't done very much real life racing. So based on my limited experience, I'm a big fan of their physics engine. I think it feels great. I would agree with Race Department that the oval is exceptional, but I feel like the road's pretty exceptional as well. Moving on, the sound is excellent. The force feedback is really good. You really feel the texture of the road in each little bump and change. The sound, as I was saying, is also very good. It supports surround sound. And I run 7.1 in my room, which is what you're listening to, and I run 5.1 in my headphones. And I feel like surround sound is really important in racing games to be able to better keep track of the opponents that you're competing against as they approach you in your blind spots and whatnot. There is no single player mode to speak of in iRacing, but there is a career mode, so to speak. Usually those things are pretty synonymous. You know, a single player mode is the career mode. In iRacing, as you progress through the game, through the simulation, you are rewarded for racing clean. It boosts up what they call your safety rating. And the safety rating, as you do better and better with your safety rating, you increase your license class, which makes available to you more options as far as which series you want to compete in. So this is pretty important to the game. Then you're also ranked in your I rating, which is how your position is at the end of each race compared to your competitors. So it's one of the few games I would say that has a very where you can set up a very specific career in multiplayer. So yeah, it's definitely got some compelling features. The big downside of iRacing is the price. It's expensive, you know, compared with the other simulators and games we're going to look at today. You know, a lot of people say, well, it's cheap compared to racing in real life, and I agree, it is cheap compared to racing in real life. However, I don't think a whole lot of people are cross-shopping racing in real life with simulators. There might be a few, but most people cross-shop games and simulators and real-life racing with other types of real-life racing. So, alright, that's enough laps in iRacing here. So there's a yearly subscription fee, which is normally $100, but it's pretty easy to find for half price. So I figure in $50 a year for iRacing subscription, and then you have to purchase all your additional content beyond the initial offer that you select when you get in. So, and there's tons of racetracks, and they're all laser scanned, which is another huge benefit to iRacing. There's also tons of cars, and they're modeled very accurately as well. I'm really excited to see what they do with Oculus support. Again, there's no official support announced, but they do have those 2 kits on the way, so I'll be keeping very close track of that. Next we've got RaceRoom, which is a SimBin title. RaceRoom, and SimBin's done quite a few other titles. RaceRoom currently is free to play. You can download it on Steam, and I believe it's still in beta. But they have, let me double check myself here. RaceRoom. Oh, they do have a kit. It arrived on May 23rd, a dev kit. They posted some pictures of it. So they are working on supporting the Rift, so we'll definitely be keeping close eye on RaceRoom. Let me get in and show you real quick what RaceRoom looks like. I haven't played RaceRoom very much, so I'm still very new to RaceRoom. So far, I'm enjoying the experience. It seems like it's going to be a pretty good simulator, but I definitely need a lot more hours in the driver's seat before I can give you a really firm opinion on that. SimBin Studios. So I'm not a huge fan of the free-to-play model. I feel like it's a model where you're constantly bombarded with advertisement, and I say that because as you're navigating through the game, anytime you go to content that you want to experience but you don't own it, it pops up, would you like to purchase this for such and such, and I don't like, I mean, if I'm in the game and I'm doing what I'm doing, I just want to be able to play with what's ever there and not have any ambiguity about it, so to speak. In iRacing, for instance, any content that you don't own is shuffled to the bottom of the list and says, so if you want to play this, you got to pay more, but you can do all this stuff with what you already own. And here it's ambiguous until you actually navigate into each item, and then it's like, oh, you don't own this set, you got to pay such and such amount. Anyway, I'll get off my rant on that. Let's just go ahead and run a quick test here. So far, the graphics appear to be pretty good. I wouldn't say they're world class. The fluid physics, you see the flags blowing in the wind on the courses here, they don't look so great. But other than that, I don't have any huge criticisms for the game so far. The reflections, the lighting looks excellent. The textures are pretty good. The people in the stands are still 2D, but there is 3D personnel in the pits and whatnot. You can see them standing around here. It does support telemetry output, so that's good. I'm in some kind of prototype car, and I'm on a fictional racetrack that they've created here. Now you can see here on my side monitors the image is really stretched out. They have not implemented proper multi-monitor support yet, so I'd really like to see them working on that. but it might be a moot point for me once I get the Rift in my hands. They do support telemetry output, so my sim vibe is working great, and that's always nice. The physics feel really good in this game, actually, so far. And for me, that's one of the most important metrics for a simulator. I mean, if the physics don't feel good, I don't see why there's any point to waste your time on it, you know? But they're already feeling quite nice. You can tell the Simbin has some experience with simulators, and this seems like it's going to be an excellent product once they get it out of beta. And what else? Let's see. Force feedback. Force feedback also feels very good. It's right up on the same level as iRacing, maybe even a touch better. I feel like it's a little bit sharper in its feeling and its reaction to the road surface. So, yeah, very similar in feel to iRacing. Maybe just that's kind of my benchmark, by the way. So I apologize if I keep talking about it, but I definitely have the most seat time in iRacing compared to the rest of these games. But yeah, force feedback feels very good. The physics and the graphics are pretty impressive so far. The game definitely seems like it has some solid potential. The sound, as you can hear, is pretty good. It does support surround sound, which is important to me, and there is single player and multiplayer mode. I haven't done any multiplayer racing yet, so I can't speak to that. If I do much with RaceRoom, I'll try to get in some single player and multiplayer to give you the full scope. Again, I talked a little bit about free-to-play structure, which is what this follows. I'm playing right now for free. I haven't paid anything. If you win races in the game, I think specifically online, then you can earn in-game credits, and and then you can actually purchase extra content in the game with the credits that you've earned by winning races. So that's the cool thing about free to play, is you can actually eventually earn most all the content without paying a dime. But that takes a lot of time and effort, and I don't think I'll be spending that much time in this game, so I'll probably have to put some of my own bucks into it if I want to play around with more cars and tracks. So that's RaceRoom. Let's move on. Our next title is rfactor 2. Now, rfactor, the original, came out back in 2005, 8 years ago, and it has a huge following. There are tons of mods. There's a huge community of people who have been doing rfactor for a long time. So anyway, ISI have taken all that experience from developing rfactor and even several games before that, back to, as far back as the late 90s, and they've really tried to create the ultimate driving simulator, rfactor, and it is still in beta as well. Most of these games are still in beta, but you can purchase 100% content for $85 US, or I just paid 7,000 yen, which I think 5 months ago was about $85, but the yen has devalued so much over the past few months that it was only about $70 for me. So that was a nice benefit of being in Japan for once. rfactor 2 does support telemetry output, so my sim vibe works great in this game, which is nice. And it also has implemented properly triple screen support, so there's no funky warping on the side monitors. So that's pretty nice too. I'm going to jump right in here to a race with the Corvette C.A.R.S on the Palm Beach International Raceway. And and just talk about rfactor 2 for a few minutes here. Starting here in the pit. Sorry, not the pit, in the garage actually. So far the steering feels completely lifeless. And it's interesting, the telemetry output doesn't kick in right away. My speed limiter's on and I don't remember which button I mapped to it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is rfactor 2. Let's talk about graphics first. I've got my graphics settings turned way down to mostly medium and low settings actually, and I found that with my triple screens I'm running 6000 by 1080, and it's a pretty huge resolution, and this game seems like it needs a lot more graphical development because it doesn't seem very well optimized. I played around with it quite a bit the other day, and this is about as high of graphics settings as I could run and maintain 50 frames per second or more. So I think they got some work to do. With the graphics all cranked up, the game looks great. I wouldn't put it on the same level as Project C.A.R.S. We'll get to that later. But and I wouldn't quite put it up there with RaceRoom either. RaceRoom looks a little bit nicer. I think the lighting's a little bit better. Oh, of course, I don't have shadows turned on right now. That could make a big difference. Or reflections. The other thing that's interesting here, and let's talk about physics a little bit, I feel a little bit less connected to the road. I don't know, people on the forums and online and stuff seem to really like rfactor's physics, but so far I'm not too impressed with rfactor 2. I feel a little bit more disconnection. It might have something to do with this this floating feeling you are in the car as the G-forces affect the driver. There's a lot of bounce and bob and weave and kind of going on here, and maybe that's more realistic. But it feels disoriented as you're racing and you're not feeling those G-forces, but you're seeing them. I stalled the car out again. So I'm not a huge fan of it so far. Maybe I just need more time in the driver's seat. I think I'm definitely in the minority when I criticize the physics, but so far I have a lot easier time in iRacing or Simbin controlling the car. The force feedback, on the other hand, feels really nice, and you get a lot of textural feedback from the course itself, and you can definitely feel the limit of adhesion of traction, so you can feel when the tires break loose, front or rear. So force feedback's been implemented really nicely, and I do like that aspect of it. There's single and online play. I haven't done any online play yet, but I'll cover more of that in the future. I really need to spend some more time optimizing graphics settings. Spent just an hour on it yesterday and still not quite happy with it. The sound seems pretty good, although I'll need more time before I can give a firm opinion. The Corvette sounds a lot like it does in iRacing, so. And lastly is price. I got 100% content for 7,000 yen. To me, that's pretty reasonable if you're going to get a world-class simulator, which rfactor supposedly is. So, moving on. That's rfactor 2. Next game we're going to talk about is Assetto Corsa. Now, I have really high hopes for Assetto Corsa. It looks amazing. The screenshots look absolutely gorgeous. Definitely graphically appears to be one of the top games on my list here. However, I can't play it yet. They have a technology preview which is available right now, but only to those people who have a Netcar Pro license, which I do not. So I'll continue to wait, and when they come up with something that I can play, I can give you a lot more assessment of it. But I have high hopes for it, and they have announced full Rift support. So we're definitely keeping an eye on that. I'm looking forward to it. We don't know their status as far as if they've received their dev kit or not, whether, what stage they are at working on that. But I'll certainly let you all know when I find out. Right now, Assetto Corsa is on Steam Greenlight, and I highly recommend you go vote it up. I already voted for it. They already have official licensing from BMW and Lotus and Ferrari, and so I'm pretty excited about that. I think it has a lot of potential. The interior of the cars look absolutely gorgeous. I think it's going to be excellent with the Rift. So I won't say much more about Assetto Corsa at this point, but we'll definitely look at it more in the future. Moving on, our next game is Project C.A.R.S. Project C.A.R.S is another game in beta. It's being done by the World of Mass Development and Slightly Mad Studios. They did the Electronic Arts Need for Speed franchise, and then Shift as well. So they've got a lot of talent in their group. I was a junior member for a long time, just kind of dabbling with it here and there. I recently upgraded my membership to team member, which means I've paid a total of 25 euros at this point, and that entitles me to play all these beta builds that they're coming up with on a weekly basis, and I'll also get a 25 euro discount on the final game when it comes out. So let me get into a game here. I'm going to race real quick just on the California highway in the Lancer Evo and give you a quick idea of what Project C.A.R.S looks like. So first off, the graphics. The graphics in Project C.A.R.S are definitely at the top of the list. There's a couple of complaints I have about Project C.A.R.S graphics. First of which would be the side monitors. They have not properly implemented multi-screen support yet in Project C.A.R.S, so you get a lot of stretch on the side monitors. It doesn't look great. What else? For graphics, also, anti-aliasing doesn't look excellent at this point. And my other complaint is that it's an extremely demanding engine. It needs a lot of hardware. It's super heavy on the graphics cards. I'm running, again, two 580 GTXs, 3GB versions overclocked, and I struggle to turn anything past medium or so. Right now I'm running about 40 frames per second. I guess most settings are on high or medium. But man, they've been putting a lot of work into it, and it looks great already, even at these settings. Lighting is perfect, spot on, and not only that, but it's dynamic lighting. There's a real day-night cycle. There's also dynamic weather. So that's pretty cool. The interiors of the cars look amazing, if a little bit shy on the textures, but I tell you what, man, sitting inside the Oh no, I can't think of them. Those little go-karts for the road. Or even the go-karts itself, where you can see all the structure of the suspension working as you're going over the bumps and stuff. Man, that's cool. So graphically, very impressive. Physics are actually pretty good, but there's definitely some rough edges, and more work needs to go into it. The game's still in beta, obviously, so we'll give them a break on that. Force feedback, though, already feels pretty darn good in most of the cars. Still needs a bit of work on other cars. This Mitsubishi, for instance, feels excellent. So I'm glad to see that they're doing proper work there. It does support telemetry output in SimVibe, although it's not working right now. I'll have to look into it more later. But that's always nice to see. Let's see what else. Sound is excellent. I'd say driving through tunnels and stuff, where you hear all the extra reverb and stuff, cutting in and cutting out of those tunnels is a little too abrupt, and I think maybe the effect is a little bit overdone. But that's the only criticism I could launch against the sound. Otherwise, I'd say the sound is pretty darn good in Project Cars. There is single player and online play. I haven't done any online play yet, although a lot of people have been, and it still needs some work, but they are quite active in fixing all that stuff and making it work even better. Even playing single player like I am right now, it does record your lap times, and it keeps you on a leaderboard with everybody else around the world. So, oh, ouch. Okay, and then last is price. I kind of talked about this earlier, but I paid $25, and I can play pretty much all the content. There's a few exclusive cars and tracks only for the higher level supporters. I'll probably upgrade my membership to, I think the next step is Senior eventually, just because then I'll get a free copy of the game when it comes out. So may as well do it now. Get to have access, and then that level gets you access to 100% of the content. So that's Project Cars. Let's move on. Next game I want to talk about is Dirt 3. Dirt 3 does not have official support for the Rift, but I wanted to pull up this YouTube video and just show you what's happening with the Rift already. The Vario Perception driver, which is a third-party driver for the Rift, allows Dirt 3 to be played. And it even offers Razer Hydra support, so I think most guys are strapping a Razer Hydra controller to their chest, and as you can see, he started by leaning left and right in this video here, and he's actually fully represented there in the car. So this looks like it has huge potential, even if Codemasters doesn't officially support the Rift. It's going to be really fun to play with the Vario Perception drivers. So I'll definitely be checking that out more later. As far as Dirt 3 goes, I'm a huge fan. I've played it significantly in the past. The 3D in it is amazing. So it's a lot of fun. Graphics-wise, it has excellent graphics. It uses the latest tricks and stuff to give you a good experience. The physics are good, not quite Richard Burns Rally good, but there are plenty of mods, realism mods developed by the community to increase realism. I'm pretty happy with them out of the box. I'm not so hardcore a rally racer that I have to have them absolutely Richard Burns style. But I find it's a lot of fun, and it's a compelling experience the way it is. let's see. Force feedback is good. Physics is good. Sound is excellent. It supports surround sound, and I really like the extra added effort they've gone to in the effects in Dirt 3. Hearing all the gravel kicking up in your wheel wells and things of that nature. Environmental sounds, the co-driver squawking out his commands, all that stuff. It really brings you into the experience, so that's cool. There's a single player and multiplayer. I'm not a big fan of multiplayer in Dirt, but the single player campaign mode is pretty good. It's a little on the arcadey side, but it's a lot of fun. Adding in Gymkhana was a cool idea, and that kind of adds another element to the game to give it some variety. And then of course there's price. Dirt 3 is cheap today. It's getting along in age a little bit, so you can find it on the clearance rack for 10 or 20 bucks. I highly recommend picking it up. It was a lot of fun. All right, let's move on to our next title, which is Dolphinity Racer, the real deal. Racer is a free car simulator project for non-commercial use using high-end car physics to achieve a realistic feeling and an excellent render engine for graphical realism. Cars, tracks, and such can be created relatively easy compared to other, more closed driving simulators. The 3D files, physics, and other racer-specific file formats are documented. Editors and support programs are also available to get very customizable and expandable simulator. OpenGL is used for rendering. That's their blurb on their home site here. And the reason I've highlighted this is because the most recent release candidate on May 24th, RC7, for the Oculus Rift has been released. This is configured especially for the Oculus Rift and not really a general release. So that caught my attention. I also come into this main page. I also see this logo for Cruden. If any of you are not familiar with Cruden, it is the creme de la creme of simulators. They have those big, huge hydraulics suspended simulators that have 3 or 4 feet worth of movement up and down, and can really tilt the platform to give you a crazy experience. We're talking $150,000 simulators. They've just put up a whole bunch of them at that new Ferrari museum theme park in Abu Dhabi, and so I saw that and I was like, oh wow, this must be really good, right? And it's free, so I downloaded the free trial, and well, let's just get in there and check it out. Triple screen support does not appear to be properly implemented, so I'll be playing on a single screen here. We'll do some quick race in the Lamborghini Murcielago. Really simple interface here. Didn't have any problem detecting my devices and setting up my controls. That was pretty easy. So that went well. Getting into the game here, let's see. Let's talk about graphics first. Graphics look absolutely abysmal. I've maxed out everything and I'm running 250 frames per second. Oops. Change my controller profile here. Everything looks 2D and boring, and the trees look like walls of trees, like Richard Burns Rally style graphics here. These AI cars are driving like grandmas on a Sunday afternoon. So the graphics are absolutely horrendous. Now, how are the physics? You know what it reminds me of, actually, is Ridge Racer, where you approach the limit of adhesion and it snaps into oversteer, as if prompting you to drift almost. And this could be on power on or power off. There's power off oversteer right there, and just immediately lose it. Oh, and look at that. Yeah, flip over. And not recovering, continuing to roll. This is some kind of sick joke or something. I mean, does that look like realistic physics to you? Yeah. Anyway, let's go on. Force feedback was awful. I mean, obviously it has some, but nothing to write home about at all. The sound was not very good. The single player was horrible. The multiplayer I didn't even bother with. The price is excellent. So if you're looking for a free driving simulator that is awful in every other metric, Racer is the one for you. Now there is a huge online community if you speak Spanish, where supposedly there's several hundred tracks and cars which can be downloaded for free and plugged into Racer. I don't have very high hopes for Racer. The only reason why it caught my eye is because they already have a beta release out with official Oculus Rift support. So I will definitely check it out with the Oculus Rift. But based on what I've seen so far, yeah, probably not going to be high on our list. Last but not least, I want to talk about Euro Truck Simulator 2. Now this is obviously not a racing game. This was greenlit on Steam and actually got really quite a lot of community support. And I gotta say, I'm a big fan. It's a lot of fun to play. So let's jump into it and I'll show you. This is Euro Truck Simulator 2. It does not support telemetry output, so SimVibe is not working with it at this point, or anything else that depends on telemetry output. Euro Truck Simulator 2 is going to officially support the Rift, and they've had their dev kit for a couple of weeks already, and they already have shown some teaser images of people playing in the Rift. So Rift support should be forthcoming fairly quickly, and I'm very excited about that because this game is tailor-made for the Rift. Let me just show you why. First thing you notice here, I'm in the cab of my truck and I am looking all around my truck. So mouse look is supported by default, even looking out the window to assist with backing up or checking your blind spot or wherever the case may be, checking your mirrors, etc. and so forth. Let me turn my lights on here. Oh, lights are already on. Okay, so turn up the volume a little bit so you can hear the sound effects. So let's talk about Euro Truck Simulator 2. The graphics are pretty decent. They're not excellent. I have played games with better graphics. I'm at a company here in Geneva, I believe, and they've got a job for me. Let's see, they got several different jobs. Price per distance, I've got them. Right now I can transport these forklifts for 12,200 euros. It's about 30 euros per kilometer. Not great, but I'll take it. So first thing I gotta do is go hook up to the trailer, which is marked right here. So let me back up and go get that. Okay, now I've got my trailer. I can proceed to my destination. My truck has a 12-speed gearbox, and so I'm using my H-pattern shifter to shift through 1 through 6, and then I have to hit the toggle for my upper range, and then I can shift my toggles, my sequential shifter here. At least it was before I got the new one. Might have to reset that again. So the graphics in this game are quite good. The lighting is excellent, and it's dynamic lighting. There's dynamic weather. Let me see. Yeah, I need to reset up that toggle for my upper range. But let's talk about graphics. So the trees, the mountains, the textures, everything looks pretty good. But anti-aliasing support is obviously lacking. And they don't have official proper support for multi-sampling. I've got it configured through a tweak, and it works much better than without, but it's still not as good as it should be. They have XAA built in, which is that, what do you call it? post-processing effect to help smooth out the jaggies. That's my biggest complaint I would lodge against graphics, other than the side monitors are stretched. They don't have proper multi-monitor support implemented, so that's kind of a hit on Euro Truck Simulator 2's graphics engine, as well as the fact that it's just a pretty hefty game. You have to have quite a bit of hardware to run this properly. I'm currently running around 100 frames per second, which is very smooth, but I also have the graphics cranked way down. Most everything is running on medium. If I were to turn on the shadows, things would slow down quick, fast, in a hurry. The physics are really quite incredible. The only knock that I have against physics is damage is not simulated accurately. They definitely give you leniency in the damage model. If you were to jackknife at 100 kilometers an hour on the expressway and crash into a guardrail, you might get 10 or 15% damage on your truck. So, but at the same time, you know, do you really want to have that much damage all the time? So, I don't know. I guess it's a reasonable, what do you call it? Let's see, I gotta fix this gear change problem. Drive reverse. My H shifter. Shifter toggle, there it is. Oh no, it's not seeing my DSD sequential shifter. Oh, that's not cool. What should we do? Okay, I did 7th gear, so 7th gear will, on my H pattern, will put me into the upper range. That ought to work. Okay, let's get back out on the road again. There we go, 8th gear. So, let's see, you can see the light streaming in between these trees up here. Looks pretty cool. It's going to be nighttime soon. What else here? I better get out of the exit only lane here. I don't think I'm exiting. Nope. Following my GPS over here. Let's see. It also has cruise control, which is nice on the expressway. Doing 90 kilometers an hour right now. Set my cruise control. Oops, that's not cruise control. Where's my cruise control? Nope, that's not it either. I've forgotten. I haven't played it for a while. Since they announced Rift support, I'm like, I don't want to waste my time with it on my triples when I could be playing it in the Rift. So single player, the career mode is amazing. You can, of course, do your own driving. But you also are the owner of your own company, and you can hire other drivers and buy other trucks for them and buy extra garages and stuff like that. I currently employ 2 other drivers who deliver and earn money for me on a regular basis. So there's definitely a strategic career managerial game as well as the driving simulator itself. So there's actually, yeah, quite a bit for a wide range of different types of players, you know. And I think it's actually a pretty compelling product for many people. Oh, speed cameras! Whew. Avoided a speeding ticket there. Alright, so that's Euro Truck Simulator 2. It runs $40 on Steam for 100% content, and I think it's a pretty fair price. Let's move on. I do wish they'd implement telemetry output so I could get some sim vibe with it. Because when I get the Oculus Rift, if I have sim vibe, man, that'll be super immersive, and that'll be a fun game to play. Okay, so that's all the games I wanted to cover today. The last bit I wanted to talk to you about was, what else do you want to see? I haven't talked anything about flight simulators. We'll cover that in my next podcast. But as far as driving or racing simulators, is there anything that I missed? If there was any information that I put out was inaccurate, you could correct me on. Please do. I'm not infallible. Just post it in the comments below the video here. And please let me know if there's any projects that you've been paying attention to that I'm not, that are not on my radar, because I don't want to miss out on any good developments. I purposely left out Codemasters F1 series. I played F1 2011 quite a bit in the past, and I grew cold on the Codemasters F1. The physics and it was really the physics, but also the force feedback just weren't up to par for me. So I burnt out on them, and I much prefer the Formula car in iRacing. So that'll about do it for this week. I appreciate any feedback you have for me, and if you appreciate my content, I'd really like it if you could share it with others and get the word out that I'm starting this video blog. I'm going to try to follow all the developments in the genre throughout the course of the Rift dev kit, and hopefully we'll have more devices on the market. The more the merrier. Yeah, pretty excited about the implications that VR has for us simmers.